Steve Nolan, Major, United States Air Force, retired. I was a career mental health officer. I served all over the world, Army, Air Force, culminated my career as the Chief of Combat Stress in Paktika Province in Afghanistan. And after my military career, I ran a PTSD clinic, a vet center for the VA for combat veterans. I have written a book, American Carnage, An Officer's Duty to Warn, about the mental status of our current Commander-in-Chief, the blatant pathology that we actually eliminate anyone with this type of belief system from the military. And I had a long career of doing that as one of my duties, is removing people who are unfit for even lower ranks, but definitely with these belief systems and bigotry and pathological lying, etc., are certainly unfit for command. I think that the president's rallies that he did illustrate this more than anything else, his unfitness for command. But I have different sections in the book. One is called the tweets, and I break down the tweets clinically, and then the rallies I try to break down clinically, so you see it from a military clinical point of view, what is so abnormal and unacceptable about what the president is saying or proposing. I want to do a lead-in, and I'm going to read from the rallies, but I want to read a couple things from the tweets section very briefly. This is one that it had to do with a tweet that the president did asking certain people that he found unacceptable to leave the country. But what I want to read is something about Ronald Reagan from the 1950s, from the Red Scare, from the McCarthy hearings. When Ronald Reagan was asked during the McCarthy hearings whether he thought the Communist Party should be outlawed in America, he said that as a citizen, he would not like to see any political party outlawed on the basis of political ideology, and that he would not want to see us so urged by fear or resentment of any party compromise our democratic principles. And then here's a tweet from November 12th, 2019. And the president tweets, "The left has never accepted the results of the 2016 election. They never saw this coming. This is not just about President Trump. They hate everyone he is representing." We've never had a president tell the American people that another group of Americans hate them until this president. And it's just not unacceptable language. It fits a particular psychological profile. Now I'm going to read a little bit from his rallies to illustrate this even more. His thinking, his un-American, unconstitutional thinking that actually disqualifies him. It would disqualify him from the military, but he's in charge of the military, and it's a disqualification from his office, this sacred office that he holds. First of all, let me say, during his campaign, the candidate held 323 rallies, 186 primary, season, and 137 general election. He's had 88 more since occupying the White House. Just the fact that the president continued campaign rallies after assuming the presidency is bizarre and a powerful message that rather than being laser focused on the most demanding job in the world, much of his time and energy will be devoted to staying in power. On January 9th, 2020, at a rally in Toledo, Ohio, the president said about Democrats, they are vicious, horrible people. They're horrible people. They have never been more extreme. They are stone cold crazy. What they do is a disgrace. These remarks themselves are a disgrace. They are divisive. They are a betrayal of his office, and like so many of his declarations at his campaign rallies, should have brought condemnation within Congress and even the Pentagon because of the military personnel serving overseas in combat zones defending this and other countries who are members of that party. It's just unacceptable that these servicemen and women would be called vicious, crazy, and a disgrace. We all have family members who are Democrats. No president has the right to slander them, and no president has ever done so before. The narcissist holds up a mirror of projection. His words apply to himself. Vicious, crazy, a disgrace, and totally unacceptable. It's not good enough that Congress and military leaders recognize this. It is so inappropriate that it must be opposed. The president continually victimizes individuals or groups with impunity. There's only one reason why. On November 1st, 2019, at a rally in Tupelo, Mississippi, the president started the rally by calling himself the best president we've ever had. But he was just warming up. He told the crowd, the media and the Democrats have been involved in a corrupt partnership to thwart American democracy by any means necessary. This language is so hateful, so much an abdication of truth, that is dangerous. He said that Democrats are mentally violent. Think about that message. Think of the implications. Think how sick, how abnormal it is for the President of the United States to stand before an audience of thousands and tell these citizens that other citizens in another party are mentally violent. There's only one motive possible for such hate speech, a motive unacceptable for an office that carries the obligation of national unity. It is the type of language that has led to atrocities in other countries. On July 24th, 2018, at the 2018 Veterans of Foreign War National Convention in Kansas City, Missouri, the president continued his habit of inventing alternative facts. It's a disturbing thing to watch someone who has no allegiance to truth give an hour speech based on the premise that the audience is either too ignorant to recognize a series of lies or that they do not care. The entire speech went from one inaccuracy to another. He continued the lie that he created the VA Veterans Choice Program, which in fact was instituted by the Obama administration. I personally had been enrolled in that program for a couple of years when I first heard him tell Matt Lauer during the Commander-in-Chief Forum that he was the author of this idea. He also told the Kansas City rally crowd that he created the first walk-in mental health services. In fact, the VA had this option for decades. They're called vet centers, and any combat veteran can walk into any vet center without an appointment. I know this because I ran a vet center for 5 years following my military retirement. The speech had lies from start to finish. It is untenable for the United States to have a leader who refuses to tell the truth, and if a country agrees to that, it abdicates all power to the leader. as we see in the communist systems we have opposed since World War II. When the leader cannot be held accountable for his speech or actions, freedom no longer exists. To give up freedom voluntarily is to commit national suicide. What this president does is simply repeat the same phrases over and over in speech after speech, a Nazi propaganda technique, until they become implanted in the minds of the listener. A sampling of his deception, his descriptions of Democrats at this rally. They want open borders and crime's okay. The Democrats want to abandon ICE. Low IQ Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi have launched vicious smears on people who protect our communities. They want to get rid of crime fighters. Of course, all these claims are nonsense, but not to his audience. And that is the unacceptable situation we find ourselves in with a pathological narcissist as president. An incessant, continual effort to divide the country. When the president said farewell to the VFW crowd in Kansas City, he went into a recitation of one nation under God and stopped right there. A very accurate place for him to end, because the next word is indivisible. And the next phrase is with liberty and justice for all, which proclaims the highest goal and the ultimate trust of this high office, one which he is incapable of honoring. On June 18th, 2019, at the official launch of his campaign for a second term in Orlando, Florida, the president took his anti-American rhetoric to a crescendo. Our radical Democrat opponents are driven by hatred, prejudice, and rage. They want to destroy you, and they want to destroy the country as we know it. One is practically rendered speechless by such a quote coming from the President of the United States. It simply betrays everything we stand for as a nation. No previous president has gone on record telling one group of Americans that another group of Americans hate them. No previous president has said that one political party was out to destroy this country. Every American should have seen this president for what he was at that moment. Certainly members of Congress and the Joint Chiefs of Staff should have realized that a line had been crossed. Generations of Americans in my lifetime, World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, Vietnam veterans, and the War on Terror veterans amongst them, have seen members of both major political parties, have been members of both major political parties, That is their right, a right they fought for. I will repeat until I am out of breath the simple fact that we currently have Democrats in uniform, in combat zones, defending this country. I have seen young Americans killed and maimed for the ideals of this nation. The fact that the commander-in-chief was saying that some people in uniform serving this country were full of hatred, prejudice, and rage, and that he, who has never served, felt the right to say that military members belonging to that group were out to destroy this country, went to a level beyond obscenity, to betrayal of country. However, I'm not writing as an Afghanistan veteran so much as a clinician. I do not want to write out of my anger, but out of clinical experience. The president's anti-American belief system is best understood, I believe only understood, by recognizing it is being due to a high level of narcissism. A level of narcissism that, if diagnosed in any service personnel, would lead to their obligatory discharge from the United States military. There is no doubt that if anyone within the chain of command below the president had made exactly the same comments, his or her career would be over. No one is above the law, and the commander-in-chief's beliefs are in violation of the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice.